Welcome to the Connecting with Coincidence radio show with Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, bringing together the world's synchronicity experts to help you use meaningful coincidences to develop spiritually, psychologically, and practically. For more information, put Connecting with Coincidence into your web browser to find the book, website, Psychology Today blog, YouTube channel, and Facebook page. And now, here is the host of the Connecting with Coincidence radio show, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD.
Welcome to Connecting with Coincidence. Yes, I am your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, and I'm a psychiatrist in private practice and on the faculty at the University of Virginia. Carl Jung introduced the Western world to synchronicity, and the rock band The Police popularized the idea in their album, also called Synchronicity. They were followed by numerous books, articles, movies, and videos. But why this growing interest? Weird coincidences are messages to us earthlings about the true nature of reality, messages we can try to decode. They tell us that our minds are interconnected and are part of a greater mind that I call the psychosphere, that each of us has hidden powers and abilities. Look for their helpful advice, their evidence for deep connections with those you love. To learn more, put Connecting with Coincidence in your web browser to read my Psychology Today blog and my book, Connecting with Coincidence. To see how sensitive you are to coincidences, go to my website to take the Weird Coincidence Survey. Connect with Coincidence. Synchronicity spoken here. Our guest today is SHERRIE DILLARD, who is an internationally renowned psychic, medium, and medical intuitive. SHERRIE helps others to develop their intuitive and spiritual gifts. She has given over 50,000 readings worldwide and has been featured on radio and TV for her innovative books and her work as a psychic detective, medical intuitive, and medium. SHERRIE is the author of the best-selling Discover Your Psychic Type, You Are a Medium, Sacred Signs and Symbols, and 4 other books, which have been translated into 8 languages. She has developed an easy way to develop intuition through psychic types. She has a Master's of Divinity in New Thought, Pastoral Counseling, and Metaphysics. Her passion for the fusion of intuition, spirituality, and conscious self-growth has made her a popular speaker and teacher at retreats and conferences, both nationally and internationally. Welcome back to the show, SHERRIE DILLARD.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I was glad to have you back. The last time we talked, we were getting deeply into intuition, but not deeply enough. So I wanted to be able to talk with you more about your main focus, which is intuition. But before we get to that, in reading your book, I was quite struck by your use of the term energy information, and the reason I was struck by that is because I came up with the same phrase myself, where you have a space between the words energy, information. I have a dot, or I have a line sometimes, a dash.
Right.
Because to me they're connected, and the energy carries the information is the simple way I think about it. Please tell me how you got to this term and what it means to you.
Well, I would say that's synchronicity, isn't it? Anyway.
All right, I would say it's a form of synchronicity
right.
that I call that is called simultaneous discovery.
Yeah, that's true. Right. Yeah.
That there's a group mind out there, and a lot of us are thinking about the same things. And those of us who are on the edge of whatever the subject is, run into the same ideas because the ideas are out there. And those of us who are peeking beyond the usual veil of ordinary reality tend to run into them. So that's a basic level of synchronicity that I can explain with kind of a conscious mind idea that is probably more acceptable than some of the other synchronicity ideas.
Yes, and actually in my new book I talk about that same phenomena of, I call it kind of a collective mind, where that's exactly kind of what you said, where there is that it's there. It's in collective mind. And those who are, like you said, willing and excited, curious about what lies beyond what what's in our day to day, tend to be able to kind of, receive some of that energy information, whatever that may be. And I feel like that shows up for people that you wouldn't even think of as into anything other than, kind of a more material, physical focus. Even things like fashion or, new kinds of electronic kinds of things or telecommunications, whatever it may be. I think it's all there, ready. It's all willing, ready to be kind of like fruit to be picked. And whatever mind can receive that, I think receives that. So, but to answer your question about energy information, how I came to that was, I don't know the exact time or place because I've always kind of felt that. I've always felt that that's what intuition is it's the ability to recognize information that's in the form of pure energy. And that's it seemed to me the logical thing to call it because it's not as abstract or paranormal or metaphysical I mean, it is metaphysical, but when people think of it in that form, it seems a little out there. When we look at energy, what energy is, we're familiar with energy in so many different forms. It's become very commonplace. Energy allows us to even have this conversation now in terms of energy being used in the way that, through Wi-Fi and through, our iPhones or whatever, whatever it may be. We're living in a very energetic kind of environment culturally. So energy information to me seemed quite just a kind of a little step out of maybe the way we view energy and giving it a little bit more of a, I guess, an intellect in a way that not only does energy kind of power our day-to-day lives with all of our gadgets and things we're doing, our air conditioning and heat, all of that stuff that we rely on, it also energy can manifest in the form of pure information.
Well, we have that energy information relationship simply with light. That light comes into our eyes, that's energy, and we then see the information that's packed into it.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. You're absolutely right. That's a good point. That our bodies, actually, that's what our senses are kind of doing. It's translating energy in the environment through our eyes, like you said, through hearing things. That's energy in a way. I mean, I know there's a physical function of it, but what we're picking up on are energy waves.
Yeah, it's the way the energy waves carry information, and light is probably the simplest one for us to talk about. Yes, yeah. Hearing sound is the same general idea. So the kinds of energy that I think you're talking about are more subtle than light. You don't see it, you don't hear it, but somehow there's energy out there that contains information, and through intuition, you can decode what that information is from the register of the energy.
Right, exactly. And I feel that, to give the example you just gave of light, it's that, there's something within our brain, within our electrical functioning, with our eye, with everything working together, that translates that energy coming in through the eye into a usable form. And I think that's what happens with intuition, even, is that I feel like we receive that energy, not in ways that we're able to, through our senses, we're not able to, it's not like we have a, when we talk about our senses of hearing or sight or touch, we have a physical component that we can look at and say, well, yeah, my hand touches that, my nose smells it, my eyes see it. Where with intuition, I think what makes it more abstract to a lot of people is that there's not a physical component that we can point to and say, well, yeah, I'm receiving it because I have this.
Right. Right.
But I think we're getting there. I really think that we're on our way, hopefully, to being able to, because we are. It depends on, of course, your belief system, but there are ways to measure our electromagnetic field now. Our we can call it aura, electromagnetic field, our energy field. There are ways now that can be measured, even the energy field around plants or animals, but certainly humans.
Yes.
And that's how I believe that we receive energy information, is through our electromagnetic field, our aura, again, whatever you want to call it. And I think it's similar to our other sense functioning, is that it comes through that. And then my feeling is it comes in through that and into the somewhat of our, well, let's just say, without getting too technical on it all, it seeps into our other ways of interpreting and understanding what we're receiving.
We're coming to the end of this segment, and the idea of the aura as a receptive device, I want to continue with that. You're listening to Connecting with Coincidence with your host, Bernie Beitman, MD, on the X Zone Broadcast Network, and our guest is SHERRIE Dillard.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV. Plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
We live in rapidly shifting times of extreme volatility and uncertainty. Such profound change brings a unique opportunity for the evolution of consciousness. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, host of Mission Evolution Radio Show, a program that explores the latest scientific developments and deepening spiritual truths supporting human evolution. Join me on xzbn.net, where I interview leading experts in science, physics, medicine, spirituality, and more. By applying divergent viewpoints to leading-edge topics, we uncover expansive and evolutionary truth to assist you on your path to enlightenment. More information and past episodes are available at missionevolution.org.
Welcome back to CC with BB, Connecting with Coincidence, with your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD. That is me, and our guest today is SHERRIE DILLARD, who is author of her new book, You Are Psychic. It's about how to develop your own intuition. Excuse me. And we were just talking about auras and intuition, and trying to make an analogy between the receptiveness of, let's say, our eyes to energy information from light, to how the aura is a receptive organ for information of a different kind, for energy that comes into it that we decode through intuition. I think that's a very, very important idea, SHERRIE, and we got into that the last time. So try to describe, maybe even more technically than you'd like, about how is it that, how do you conceptualize the aura as a receiver of energy that we then translate into information?
Well, I mean, conceptualize, I'll give you my view of it, of course. I don't have, I'll tell you how I perceive it and how
You're going to tell me how you came out across it intuitively, because that's what you do.
Right, exactly. So the way that I feel it within myself, but also teaching others and working with others over a long period of time, is that I'm trying to give a usable example here in the way that, our perception of what is surrounding us. I mean, we know that there is obviously our atmosphere, oxygen, all of the elements that allow our physical bodies to be here. But then the question comes in, though, is what's nurturing that? Why is that even existing? Where is that energy being generated from? And the closest, I mean, we obviously have lots of different theories on that, but I'd like to think of it as kind of vital life force energy is what I call it, which is kind of a more pure form of energy that we kind of are, as a planet, absorbing from a higher, bigger universe, we'll say. It's keeping everything in balance. All the planets, all of that. We're all part of this bigger web of vital life force energy, and the Earth uses that energy.
Say vital life force energy? Is that what you said?
That's what I call it, right?
I just went to a conference and came across an old idea called plasma.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Plasma in modern science is like a medium that has charged particles in it. But what these guys mean, not plasma. That is what I just said. They call it the ether, which was an old idea that's been around for long. The plasma, take that out. The ether is what I think they are using the term that ether for what you're calling light energy. There is this energy out there. Tesla was able to call it free energy. It's like there, and we can tap into it. We may not need to burn oil, of course, or even wind and solar. There seems to be a lot of energy out there that we have yet to learn how to tap into as a society and as an Earth people. And you're referring to this ether thing, and I talked to a guy about it and it's an intriguing way of understanding where we are. And you're headed in the same direction, using your intuition and coming up with labels of your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're right. Ether, I have heard that term in past. But you're also right about plasma. I mean, plasma is also a metaphysical term that we won't get into that. There's a little, I'll go back to, but it is, you're correct. There is a term, plasma, that describes energy in the way that it comes in directly from spirit and manifest as kind of what they call plasma. But anyway, so to get back to my vital life force energy. So I feel that, and I go into in depth in the book about this, my feeling is there's different levels of energy. Not all energy is, I mean, it is the same as at its core, but it takes on different vibration depending
Yes.
on
Yes.
lots of
Yes.
different
Yes.
factors. So
Yes.
my feeling is that it's that we are energetic beings. I mean, we think we're physical, and we are physical. We're absolutely physical beings here too. But behind that physical being, there is an energy being, and that's, we're a collection of these vibrating energetic energy cells. So I just bring this up because the compatibility, if you look at ourselves that way, and if you look at energy as being the what keeps us all in motion here, the planet, us individually, we have a compatibility with that energy, is what I'm getting to. There's some compatibility we have because we too are energy beings, and we too in some form are being fueled by that higher energetic life force. Now the planet's being fueled by it. Everything alive in this world is being fueled by it, but we are too, because we are also energy. So if you look at it that way, the idea of being able to directly receive that energy and to be able to, I believe every person here on this planet has come fully equipped with the ability to receive that energy and to translate that into usable information. I just feel our collective consciousness hasn't evolved enough to recognize that, but I think we're getting closer and closer.
Yes, we
So,
are.
yeah.
And what you're talking about as different vibrational levels in this, I'll call it ether, in your vital life energy idea. Different names for the same thing. I was trying to say we're all composed. Everything around us is composed of the same things at different vibrational levels.
Right. Absolutely. That's what I believe. Right.
And that's a hard concept for some people, but I think it's right. I think, and the funny thing is, listening to the way you talk and having gone to this conference and talked to this guy named Harry about these things, it's not unexpected that each of you are out on the edge looking for stuff, but you're using intuition as a way of discovering it, while he's using a more physics-based analytical way of proving it. But he also has some kind of intuitive sense about what's out there, and to be able to say that everything is composed of the same stuff in different energetic levels is a remarkable way of thinking about life, and he's showing that. But let's go on to some of the other questions that I have for you, because you demonstrate to me a strong intuitive sense, enough so that you can teach other people to do it, to become more intuitive. And let's talk about in this end of this segment, as we get near it in the next one, that intuition seems to me to be an umbrella term for many internal activities that reach conscious awareness. These activities can include impulses, urges, various voices directing, suggesting how to think or what to do, or even what to feel. How does this multiple inputs idea fit with your sense of intuition?
What do you mean by multiple?
That impulses, urges, various voices, like different voices people hear, I hear inside of me, trying to get me to think a certain way or do certain things. So they're and an impulse to, like, I feel like I want to do that, and that's not it doesn't come from anything rational. It comes from a feeling or an urge to go do something. And those are different from what I'm talking about. And what I'm learning to do is be able to separate out the ones that are closer to what's right for me, and try to disregard or help develop the ones that aren't.
I get it. Okay, got it. All right. Which is great. I think we all need to, that's something we're all very much should be engaged in. But that's a good question. One of the things I go into depth with in the book is I go into incredible depth with that question. And what I help to try to train people to do And it's subtle. It's incredibly subtle, what I'm going to say, but it's doable. And once we get it, we get it. And that is to recognize let's just talk about mental intuition as an example. Mental intuition is the ability to receive energy information through a sense of knowing our thoughts, through kind of, sometimes mental intuition shows up as kind of hearing, which is called clairaudience, hearing within a certain word over and over, or a little direction, like, getting ready to go to work in the morning, a little direction that says, take the highway today, take a different route, go the highway today. It's just a constant little like voice. And you think, I'm going to go. Yeah, why would I do that? That's silly. I'm going to go my normal way. And then you go your normal way and there's a big accident and you're stuck in traffic and you think, oh man, I think this morning I thought, I was thinking I should take the other way. So I just want to bring that, because I just want a framework here. So if we're talking about mental intuition, just to be clear, that's what I'm talking about.
We're coming to the end of this segment, Sherrie, and I think it's going to be useful at the beginning of the next to talk about the way you divide intuition, of which mental is one of them, but you have several others that I think it's going to be worth the audience hearing. You're listening to Connecting with Coincidence with your host, Bernie Beitman, MD, on the X Zone Broadcast Network. We are speaking with Sherrie Dillard, author of You Are Psychic.
From our broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the world and beyond, you're watching the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
AVS Media Den.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world, interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, They conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
Welcome back to CC with BB, and we are being intuitive today. We are analyzing intuition, which I think is a good thing to do, because applying rationality or scientific thinking to what we're calling intuition, which is kind of broad and ambiguous, is a very important thing for us to do in these days. And Sherrie Dillard has divided intuition into several categories, and we've been talking about the mental one. Why don't you list the other ones for our audience and describe them, please?
Okay, and then I want to go back to your other question because I want to answer that. But to answer this, there's mental. I just talked about. Emotional intuition is when we receive energy information more through our emotions. What that would look like. A lot of people that have a lot of empathy, feel other people's feelings, soak in other people's feelings. Other people's feelings affect them. They feel like if you have a friend who is sad or upset, you're just feeling kind of heavy too, even physically heavy.
Well, you described a woman whose husband was an alcoholic. I think
Right.
You called her Amanda, and how she had picked up his alcoholism and was having liver problems as a result.
Yeah, now that is physical intuition. What physical intuitives do, and physical intuition is about receiving energy information through our physical body. So, as an example, people that they have their spine tingles, or the hair on their arms goes up, or they have a gut feeling. Like physical intuitives get more of this. They might call it a vibe or a gut feeling about things. It goes right into the body in that way. But yeah, physical intuitives will pick up energy from others and actually physically feel it, feel their aches and pains as their own. One example I like to give of that a lot of people can understand is the woman who's pregnant and her husband starts gaining weight.
Oh, yeah, right.
Because he's like just picking up on that energy and his body's responding to it. And then there's spiritual intuition, the four of them: mental, spirit, emotional, physical. And then spiritual intuition is the one I started talking about when I was talking more about spiritual intuitives pick up energy information more directly through the energy field. It comes in for a lot of times. Spiritual intuitives will just have a sense that there's something else in life, but not necessarily be able to put it into words. Or it's kind of, they have this part of themselves that they may receive information through dreams. Sometimes spiritual intuitives have just an innate sense of kind of purpose for other people, for themselves, what they're here to do. They might recognize people as, I kind of know you. We've never met, but you feel familiar to me. It's just a little bit more of an abstract, where, mental intuitive can have the thought, emotional can, have the feeling evidence, and a physical body. But the spiritual intuitive doesn't necessarily have that kind of direct, like I said, it's a little bit more ethereal feeling for them.
Good. And what you do is help people recognize what form they are most predominantly using, and then help them to develop it.
Right. And then to develop the other types too, because the optimum, and everybody can do this, the optimum is to be able to kind of intuit through, to bring them together and use all of them. The reason I start with one type at a time is because that's the way, if you can recognize how you tend to normally intuit without knowing you're doing it, it's an easier way for people to develop, because it doesn't seem so out there. Like it's something to kind of like, take the next step with, as opposed to, completely starting with nothing.
No, that's right. That's right. You
Yeah.
start with their most prominent version, and
Right.
go to the other ones. Yes.
Right.
Now, the terms I used, I begin to think about intuitive messages, the forms of intuitive messages. I'm beginning to think about how that works in your scheme with the four, and the four categories are not just for intuition. They're chakra related. People can relate to each other. I have a couple of friends with whom I can relate to spiritually, mentally, emotionally, through the heart, and physically. And those become good friends because we can move among and between those different ways of receiving information and relatedness from other people. I was using terms that are more like psychiatric and psychological,
Right.
and I think it would be useful for the psychotherapist to be thinking about intuition more directly the way you are. But the terms I was using, like impulse or urge, that's a kind of emotional, I think fall into emotional, and various voices directing us, like go this way or that, would be more mental. And I think I think you've answered my question.
Okay.
Now let's get to the relationship between intuition and coincidences and synchronicity. How are they related, Sherrie?
I was thinking about that in preparation for today. I was thinking more about that. And one of the things I was thinking about was that I was thinking about, well, what differentiates them? Because in my world, I think in your world, and I don't want to speak for you, but they might be in different categories. In mine, they kind of blend so much. I was actually trying to understand more about, well, how are they different than how are they similar? And I say that because for me, synchronicity is, it's almost like the way the universe works, in that, because I truly feel that there is really, obviously in the physical world, there's time and space, but in energy, there's not. So if we are connecting with an idea or something in our life that is, it doesn't even have to be that significant. I just feel energy shows up. It attracts, likes attract likes. So it converges. So I'm probably not explaining this well.
No, that isn't clear, because intuition is better defined by you than a lot of people, but it's still a broad umbrella term to me. Synchronicity is too. And this conference I went to, I met a guy who has an organization called Go Intuition. Right. And my point in the talk that I gave was that synchronicity, coincidences, are backdoor entrances to parapsychology events like telepathy and clairvoyance. Mm-hmm. And he said he was having trouble getting people to get into their own intuition. So he started using synchronicity as an entry point for them to start being able to tune into their own telepathic, clairvoyant, precognitive capacities. So that's the way he saw the connection. And so did another guy, that synchronicity is a gateway into thinking about stuff that is outside of the normal way of experiencing things.
Right. Well, actually, I can completely, I would say I'm probably in that camp too.
That's what that's why I bring it up, because I think you are.
But
I haven't heard how you use synchronicity and intuition together. And let me give you an example of something that happened yesterday, and with one of my patients. I sometimes like to think of myself as Dr. Coincidence. And I bought a pair of blue, purplish framed glasses with tortoiseshell sides. And I wanted to show this to one of my patients who is highly spiritual, highly intuitive. It's really a lot of fun. and was having a lot of trouble in her life because she was so weird. And what I helped her do is become more rational about her internal states. And
Right.
she's developing beautifully. We have a great relationship. We have a good time talking with each other, and it's helpful to her. So I had these blue frame glasses, and I wanted to be able to see what she thought of them. So she walks in, and my back is to her as she sits down in the couch, and on my back is to her, I pick up my glasses and put them on and turn around with my glasses on with a smile on my face, trying to surprise her. And she's looking right back at me with a pair of glasses on that she has never worn in any of the times we've met. And she had an intuition to wear those glasses, an urge to wear those glasses.
That's a great story. That is a really great story. Yeah, I like that a lot. So, all right. So I'll give you an example, but let me finish what I was going to say earlier about the difference between the two.
Good.
Okay, my world, and then I'll go into some other things. But the difference I was thinking about, because I did put some thought of like, I got to understand this a little bit more. I know we're going to talk about it, and that's a good example for what I was getting was simply that. My feeling is that intuition tends to give us more information. It gives us information that we then can use, or it could be knowledge, or it could be something we need to know. But it has an information kind of component to it, where I think synchronicity has more of it's like an exclamation point. It's like the glasses is a good example, because I can't speak for the both of you, but I would imagine that it was a synchronicity that when you both saw each other with the glasses, it was more of I don't know, I would think that it brought you both a lot of joy and a lot of feeling of connection.
We have to stop here and give it a little more thought as we come to the end of this. You're listening to Connecting with Coincidence with your host, Bernie Beitman, MD, the X Zone Broadcast Network. Our guest is SHERRIE Dillard.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
The new nonfiction book, Razor of Madness, is similar to cult movies like Clockwork Orange, Dragon's Tattoo, or The Other Side of Hell. Wayne Morin Jr. and Thomas Lee Howe will expose widespread and systematic deficiencies in this thought-provoking tell-all novel. Mind control rages among scholars in law schools. Human rights are ignored while thought reform and mental manipulation are accepted practices used as behavior modification. Dr. Louis Jolyon West comes to mind. Media and public scrutiny shows that United States mental hospitals are in fact destructive murder industries. Razor of Madness expose novel details this epidemic through an in-depth professional and personal investigation. For decades, there has been a revolving door policy that still releases killers and pedophiles back into society. The maestro of mind control continues to haunt America to this very day. Razor of Madness is available in paperback or as a downloadable ebook at Amazon.com.
The concept of a new age has been around since the late 19th century, yet much of its original meaning has been lost. What exactly is the New Age? Is it a religion, a collection of obscure esoteric practices, a series of doomsday predictions, or an astrological event? The New Age Chronicles is a unique complementary publication bringing reason and grounded information to separate fact from fiction. Chock full of valuable information to support you as we make the monumental shift into the new era. You won't want to miss a single innovative issue. The New Age Chronicles newspaper is coming soon to www.newagechronicles.com.
Yeah. Welcome back to you Connecting with Coincidence. Our guest today is Sherrie Dillard, author of the new book, You Are Psychic. And we were talking about a synchronicity that happened to me with a patient. And what I was thinking, just as we were talking about it, that she had an intuition to wear those glasses. She had an intuitive message, which I call an urge. It wasn't explained to her, but she has learned to be able to follow these intuitive urges, and she just put them on. And we had a lot of laughs about it, just trying to figure it out. And we didn't really figure it out. You're right. It was very pleasing to us. We were happy about it, that we were in some kind of sync, as the synchronicity suggested. And we then were playing around with how to interpret it. And there is a link between intuition and synchronicity. And intuition, on her part, helped create the coincidence where what I was doing was rationally planning this. So mine wasn't an intuitive thing, except for the idea, I guess I did have it. I wanted to wear those glasses to work, which I've had the glasses for a long time, but I never wore them to work. So there was an intuitive thing on my side that might have been called mental, now that I think about it.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Absolutely.
So what I wonder about, and I'm not going to ask you to go through this too much, is but how would you go about interpreting this intuitive-based synchronicity?
Well, I think that you already, in a way, have, in the way that you both. Earlier you told me that you went to the conference and there were a couple people that looked at synchronicity as kind of the gateway or doorway.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think
that was my main message at the conference when I gave my talk. Yes, and other people.
And I think that that's what happened in a way. I think synchronicities, they can be a doorway, they can be fun. They can simply be like the universe just being the universe, just kind of bringing converging higher vibration energy together. And you two obviously have a good connection to one another from what you've said. And it doesn't even have to be true. Sometimes synchronicities happen and we don't have any connection with someone.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, like I said, I think that it's an example of the way that the universe works if we're in a high enough vibration to be living in it at that level.
What it did, practically speaking, was solidify our relationship even more.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I imagine it really did. Right.
And then we spent a lot of time talking about it, and we won't go into this anymore now. It's just something I'm chewing on. But I asked her, she's a writer, and I asked her to write an essay entitled "A Pair of Glasses." Right. Yeah. And see what she comes up with. So it's for us to explore. Because it happened between us, didn't happen to me or just happened to her. It says something about our relationship together, and that's an interesting thing to be doing. So that's what we'll.
You know what? I'm going to give you something else about that though, and that I hear what you're saying, but I would almost say to you that it has more to do with your relationship to higher vibration, universal energy, than it does to even each other. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't have anything to do with your connection. I think that strengthened it and allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
But you could have a great relationship with someone else. You could have known them forever, really strong connection, and not experience that kind of synchronicity.
Yes.
So or any synchronicity. So what I'm saying is I don't think it's about that connection so much as the physical, we've known each other. I think it's really about both of your relationship with higher vibration energy that made that allowed that to happen.
Now, that is a very interesting idea because she is highly spiritually evolved. I mean, she's one of those people that had a bad life growing up. She's about 23 and went to the spirit world kind of as a way to get away from the life she was living. So she got out there, and now I helped her get back to this reality, and be able to function better in it. But then, so it's. I think you're right about this. That it suggests that we both are at some kind of spiritual level that is. Maybe a little different from what I have with other people, and it acknowledged our connection to something higher, I guess I could say.
Right. That's right. That's what it feels like to me.
Good. Do you think synchronicities can be invoked?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
How do you think that happens?
Well, I think it happens in a couple of ways. I think that we're more aware of synchronicities when we're more aware of synchronicities, So if we are in that higher vibration where we are alert, we're aware, we're open, and that's all invoking is. All invoking really is being alert, aware, and putting, in fact, they talk about this in physics too. There's more and more studies that are showing that relationship responds to our requests, and so that's all we're doing. We're putting out, invoking is just kind of a message to energy out there that says, whatever it may be. If we want to invoke a sign that lets us know we're on the right path in life, or we invoke a sign that says that, a certain person in our life, we're going to have, we have a good connection with them, or relationship, or whatever choices we have. I look at it as kind of just a fun way to play with the universe, It's not something I think we should take. I think the problem with doing that is we might get too serious and bring too much heaviness to it. I think you got to go into invoking messages, signs, synchronicities in a light way, in a fun way, in a kind of a joyful way of just opening it up, energetic, and seeing what comes back, seeing what speaks to you.
Now we have only about 4 minutes left or so, but I think there's two different ways that are come to the same conclusion of invoking synchronicities. One of them that I start with is that if you look for them, you'll find them, because they're out there. There's a lot of symbols going on out there in the world that are probably related to us, kind of directed towards us, that if we don't look, we're not going to see them.
Right.
It's same thing about looking for positive. If you look for negative, you'll find it.
Right.
So there's something about our minds and what we're seeking that help create, or at least find. I mean, the difference between creating and finding is what we're talking about. To me, it's like they're out there. And for you create it by getting to a higher vibrational level, as I did with my patient. And would you talk about those two sides of that, please?
That the vibrational level and what other?
Oh, the one that I'm saying that from my perspective, there's a lot of coincidences out there, but we don't notice them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying is I think that's what the universe is. It's there's no time and space in energy. There's no, it's only, in our kind of, obviously the way that we're functioning through our belief system and all that limits us. So if we shift our belief system, if we peak up our awareness, our consciousness level beyond the finite and into more of the infinite, And that's just honestly a matter of consciousness raising in terms of beliefs and challenging our beliefs. But we can do it in a fun way. And that's one of the wonderful gifts about synchronicity, is that it can be easy. It can just be fun and easy. And it's such a wonderful way to learn in that capacity. And so there's no, you don't need to really, you really need to do is what you said. And that's open to them and look for them, and they will appear. It's like this, you become, and that is in and of itself changes our belief system. It changes us. It kind of really has an effect on us when we see that the universe, everything around us, may not be exactly what we thought it was, that these things really do happen.
Well, I think you're answering the question I had of my saying, if you look for them, you'll see them.
Right.
And that your perspective is that you can invoke them by getting into a higher vibrational level, and that is joining the one, becoming part of the greater mind that
Right.
our minds are immersed in. And that gets us to the fun observation that that our minds and the minds around us are pretty much the same, or are very much related to each other. So
Yeah.
there really isn't that much of a distinction as you get up higher to my mind and the mind the higher spiritual mind that's out there.
Yeah, I truly think that's true. Yeah.
Well, we have another minute left, Sherrie, and this was a lot of fun to talk with you about it, because I think you're on to some very clear-minded ways of thinking about intuition, which psychologists do their intuition measures, and they're just not as precise as this, or well thought out as this. They're too precise but not accurate, I think, is a way of thinking about it. And it's wonderful to think about auras as receptive instruments like eyes are for intuitive information. So you have a lot of good ideas that I think can benefit all of us. So thank you for being on the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I love being on the show so much. I appreciate it, the opportunity.
You're very welcome. You've been listening to Connecting with Coincidence with your host, Bernie Beitman, MD, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and our guest has been Sherrie Dillard.
Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com. Are you, or is someone you know, struggling with addictions, depression, anxiety, relationships, low self-esteem, lack of confidence, grief, success, and prosperity? Do you know that your subconscious belief plays a big role in the outcome of your hard work? We can help you permanently change the beliefs that may be the reason for your struggles and failures. We care about getting you the return on your investment and the results you are looking for. We can help you be free of the limitations of your past and in realizing your highest potential. We work with people by phone and Skype. For more information, visit us at www.ritasoman.com. That's www.ritasoman.com. Do you think you have energy problems in your home? Do you feel better when you're away than when you're home? Joey Korn is a global leader in the world of dowsing who specializes in personal energy clearing and space clearing. He can help you create an ideal energy environment in your home no matter where you live in the world. Learn about his remote spiritual house cleaning services and much more at www.dowsers.com. You can get Joey's book, Dowsing, A Path to Enlightenment, as well as other dowsing books and tools, Kabbalah books, and Walter Russell books. Joey's work is really amazing. Go to dowsers.com right now. That's DOWSERS.com or call 1-877-DOWSING. That's 1-877-369-7464.